Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Pop Spot Presents. I am your host, Andre Sheed. Joining me, as always, my boy and co-host, AWS. And joining us here this month from his treadmill, it's God's gift to wrestling, my favorite wrestler of all time, Michael Richard Blais. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Doing okay.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. How you doing, Adam?
Oh, I'm doing fine. I had a good day today. Got some yard work done, just living the dream.
Yard work.
Yeah, everyone's favorite.
What did you do on your yard?
Oh, mowed the lawn. I had to pull some weeds from the garden as well. But it is what it is.
Pulling is the worst, bro.
Mm-hmm. It's a bitch, especially when they're like the spiky ones.
Yes.
I didn't do yard work. I just went to my job all day. So
I wish I could do that.
Soon enough. But we are here to chat the career, the life of one Michael Richard Blais. If you, all those that are watching here on Backbreaker video, if you go back in the archives of the Backbreaker Patreon, or not Patreon, Podbean, if you look for the Backbreaker Media on Podbean, there is an old interview from about 10 years ago that I did with Michael Richard Blais. If you want to check out that one, then listen to this one. You're more than welcome to. It's still up there on the Podbean. But we're gonna go over a lot of what we talked about back then, and 10 years more, and a lot that you have done in these last 10 years.
Yeah, quite a bit. Lots of life-changing things. Lots of really cool wrestling things. Crazy life, brother. That was a cool interview back then. I remember it. Wasn't it
I came to your house.
Was it your
Yeah.
Yeah, you came to my house, and wasn't it your second interview you did on there, maybe? Or was that your first?
You were my second. Chris Parrick was my first. So
yeah, that's what I thought.
You've tangled it up with a few times as that I've gotten to see at least. But yeah,
I actually went to go watch that or listen to that interview in preparation to this, and it was a really interesting interview. Go back and listen to it. Trust me, it's great.
Yeah, you get you get the perspective on his life then, and you're going to get the perspective on his career now, and what that kind of perspective is of that same kind of time. So as we get started, we kind of always ask, where did wrestling come into your life? Where did the fandom start?
So you probably remember from that interview that my whole thing is, I always say wrestling is the first memory I have of my actual life. And the memory is, all I really remember is I was on the couch one night when I was 3 years old. My mom, I think, had gone to play bingo, and my dad had fallen asleep because he was supposed to be watching us, but my dad worked really, really long hours. So he fell asleep, and I was just flicking through the TV channels, laying and sitting next to him. And all of a sudden, there's Bret Hart on my TV screen. And I hear, I'm pretty sure it was on Raw. That's all I can really assume. And I hear them announce he's from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And obviously, I'm sitting there beside my dad on a couch in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And instantly I was like, oh, this is my guy. This is my thing. And then I came to find out after that my grandfather was a huge wrestling fan. My mom was actually a huge fan that went to all the Stampede wrestling shows in the late 70s and 80s. And it was just I guess it was meant to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, wrestling was in your blood.
Yeah, for real. Being a wrestling fan was in my blood, and somehow I just was you know what? I'm going to take this to the next level and actually get into the business myself. Why not?
So yeah, your brother Stephen Crow, he wrestling. Did he I know he's a few years younger than you, but did he kind of get on into wrestling because of you? Were you kind of his kind of way in to being a fan, or did it take him longer?
I know we're gonna get into the show coming up in a little bit here, but what I will say is, art often imitates life, and so with Steven, when we were kids, for real, like some of those things that I've been saying are 110% true. And I promise you that for real, I would go like when I was about, so there's a 4-year difference between us. Okay. So when I was about like 6 years old, I made like really good friends with some kids in this cul-de-sac that we lived in. And they were into wrestling too, but not as much as me. So I got them like even more into wrestling. Then by the time I'm like 7, 8 years old, well, now Steven's 3 and 4 years old and he wants to come hang out with his big brother. So like, but like I would let him come and we would play video games with these kids and they were always wrestling video games. It was either wrestling video games or GoldenEye. Those were like the games that we played. Yeah, and like
Peak.
So he got into wrestling basically because of that. And I was one of those kids that was like, I collected everything too. So I had like 1,800 wrestling action figures by the time I was like 12 years old. So he would come into my room to like play with me. And it would just be like, well, you're going to have to just come in here and play with these wrestling action figures with me. And like, he'll always say they're like his favorite wrestlers too. And you can probably like tell in his style. We're always the like really over the top wrestlers. Like Jeff Hardy, he was really into. Lita, he was really into. Like Trish, he was really into. And so once like that kind of died off of it, he fell off of it a little bit. But then like, yeah, he ended up like coming back into it. He started repping for PWA. I started training him. Just like, yeah. I guess it's my fault that he is the way he is now.
It's your fault we have to deal with him now these days, eh?
As siblings tend to do. The older leads into the younger. So we get later into teen life and we hit the teenage years. You hit 15. How did you end up starting to do this? I know from the interview back then you ran into a cat by the name of TJ Wilson.
So the thing is like I was so obsessed with this from such a young age that me and my family, we got like our first computer and the internet when I was like 10. And I immediately started to search for everything involving wrestling. Like I was one of those kids that would get on the message boards and write out like those E-Fed shows and stuff.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, but then like part of that meant I was also one of the guys that like I found mat rats. Like and people don't really know about that. And then like Diana Hart's book came out. So Diana Hart's book comes out and like my mom knows Diana from her Stampede Wrestling days when she was going as a fan. So we went to get the book signed one time. And then Diana, like my mom says to Diana that like she really my mom tells Diana about how I really want to be a wrestler, but I'm only like 11 years old at this time. But Diana looks at me and she's like, oh, you're a pretty big kid, because I was already like, at that time, I was a bigger 200-pound kid already. So like, but Diana saw that. I was like, oh, you're like a big kid, like whatever, and rolled me down the number for Mad Rats. And then it took a little bit to call it, just because like time, there's like, my parents have 3 kids, you know what I mean? I'm 11, I'm in school. So like about 4 months later, we called it Mad Rats. Mad Rats was closed. So that went out the window. But then what that did was now I know about indie wrestling in Alberta. And now I actually know what this is. So now I'm just like searching everything constantly. And I find out about NWA TNA and I start begging my parents to order that every week for me. I don't know how they afforded it. $10 a week is crazy for those pay-per-views, but they did it. So AJ Styles becomes my favorite wrestler. And then 2003, Stampede Wrestling brings in AJ Styles for like a major show. So of course, I have to beg my mom to take me to it. So I go, and from there, I meet Teddy Hart, who happens to still have the Matt Rats training school, but now it's out of BJ's gym.
Okay, yeah.
3 days later, I'm training to be a wrestler. And probably like my first year, I'll be honest, like I was in the ring and I was bumping and I was like doing a lot of stuff, but we didn't really have like a super consistent trainer.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like the first year wasn't like the greatest of knowledge gaining experience or anything. But then by the time like about the end of that first year, like Ravenous Randy comes and he starts showing like me and the other guys there, like Brandon Van Danielson and Alex Plexus, how to bump and like the basics, like how to like kind of put the fundamentals together a little bit. And then about like 4 or 5 months after that is when TJ comes back from a tour of Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he just came and watched us a few times. And he was like, oh, okay, like these kids are here, they're doing this, maybe they do want this. And then he started like every couple days, he'd be like, hey, do this many squats. So we'd hit this many squats. And most of the time, like they would never have the kids do that stuff. Like that just wasn't what we did. We just got in the ring and we bumped. So we do whatever TJ said. Mm-hmm. And then finally he asked us this one time, he's like, okay, do the squats. And I think he said like 70. And we'd been slowly building from like 20 up for the last couple of weeks at this point. And he says 70, and me and BBD look and we're like, could we just do 100? Because don't you do 100? And he was like, okay, if you guys want to do 100, do 100. So then we blasted out 100 squats, and he was like, okay, when I get back from England, I'll start training you guys like full time.
Nice.
And I was like, and then like, yeah, I think he left that time. He left for like 6 weeks, I'm pretty sure. And when he came back, yeah, I was like off to the races. It was just
hell yeah
obsession. And we had like, it would be like, at first to start, we would train 2 days a week. And then all of a sudden me and BBD were like, man, we want to train more. And then it was like 3 days a week. Then all of a sudden it was 4 days a week. And then all of a sudden I'm just like actually going to the gym with TJ and just like pumping weights, whether we're wrestling or not. And yeah, that's basically how the training started.
That's so awesome.
So from there, you finally do get to make your debut in towards the end of 2005 with Stampede. What like it's I have the cage match. I have to pull the cage match up when I'm talking to people, just to kind of as we're rolling through the career. It's you, BBD. You're Chucky the Boy Wonder at this point. So how did Chucky the Boy Wonder come about?
So I think cage match has it like a little wrong because my first 8 months I was Chucky Blais.
Okay.
I just went with that. The whole reason why my name was Chucky is because there was a lot of people that would come in and out of BJ's gym. And one of them was Jack Evans.
Oh yeah.
Or like anybody that knows Jack Evans, like super, like probably one of like the real pioneers of like the crazy high flying style you see now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But like Jack literally just ran by me one day. Like I was coming up this stairwell and he runs down the other stairwell and he just gets in my face and starts going, Chucky, you look like the doll from the movies. Are you going to kill me? Chucky, you're Chucky. And then like, but the thing is from there, Jack goes and becomes like super Ring of Honor star. And like, I never saw him at BJ's again. Like I'd seen him before, but I never saw him at BJ's again. But from there, it's stuck. By that point now, like all TJ calls me, even to this day, TJ calls me Chucky. Like sometimes when he's like being on things like when we did that Infinity Gauntlet and TJ was on the little Quizplex thing me and BBD did with him to build up to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was calling me Chucky half the time on there and he'd be like, sorry, MRB, it's just too weird for me. So like I basically had the name Chucky, I didn't get a choice in. I was Chucky. And then Blais is just like, it's obviously a take off my real last name. Yeah. The Boy Wonder, though, came along because, Andre, you might remember him. I don't know if you would.
I probably wouldn't.
But a guy named Juggernaut.
Yeah. I
came
in right at the tail end. I came in at the tail end of him. I showed up in like 2008. It was right towards the end of him.
And I've heard the name.
So he was like this massive dude, but he could move. And he was like a great wrestler. especially for his size. Like he was probably like Bam Bam Bigelow, realistically. Like people say that like Bam Bam was like a super athlete, so was this guy. And he saw me one day, and I used to do all these. Well, I guess I still do them. I did all these flips, but back then I was a bigger kid, and I didn't look like I should be able to do that stuff at all.
Mm.
And Juggernaut was like, "You keep doing that, and you keep looking like this, and you keep doing that. You're the boy wonder. You're the boy wonder." And then like fast forward 3 months from when he yells that at me, and like scares the shit out of me because I'm like, "Oh my god, sir!" All of a sudden he like actually becomes the booker for Stampede Wrestling at the time. So he was like instantly like, "Okay, we're changing your name to the Boy Wonder. Don't care. You don't get plays anymore. You're Chucky the Boy Wonder." And then Brandon was actually his original name, and thank God he changed it. His original name was Brandon Flambe. Just because I would jokingly at training when we would do promo package, I'd be like, Brandon, what are you? A souffle, a flambe, Brandon Flambe. And I just like go on this rant. And so that was his name. But Juggernaut was like, "Oh, you look like Jean-Claude Van Damme, so you're Brandon Van Danielson."
That's so much cooler.
So, yes.
Yeah. And again, that name suited him. Like it's the name that just you see him and he said you hear his name Brandon Van Danielson. Like, yep, that's a Brandon Van Danielson right there.
Oh yeah, I can't even imagine calling him anything else. Like it's crazy to me to think back to then and be like, "Oh, he had a different name."
Yeah,
it's wild.
I was gonna say you kind of came in with BVD and the man that always needed to eat a hot dog, Alex Plexus, because I chanted "eat a hot dog" at him for years in PWA. So coming in with your friends, did that kind of help you confidence wise? Just kind of knowing you had a couple guys that you kind of came through everything with, kind of there with you.
It's funny because the three of us probably are actually like pretty opposite people, especially when we were kids. But just like, and like we would have never met each other in any other walk of life because I lived on like the south side of Calgary and went to like a very like regular like junior high school type thing. Plexus lived like he had just moved here from Ontario and he lived far north side and he went to like kind of like a private high school. And then like Brandon lived in High River, so he lived like a whole hour and a half away from us.
Okay.
But like wrestling, like we ended up all at BJ's gym at just the right time and just like the same obsession. And like, yeah, we became like really good friends. And like in particular, like I still talk to Plexus sometimes, but like me and BVD, like he's one of those dudes that like I would literally like I would probably take a bullet for real. Like, and so like, yeah, like by the time we got onto shows together though, it probably did make it a lot easier, to be honest with you. Cause like I always kind of rant this at like training sometimes or to like some newer people sometimes. I don't think people know like how much better some of it got when it comes to like the roasting and like the old school mentality, even just from then to now. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know if we were like completely by ourselves, if we would have like gotten through it for sure. You know, like I don't know if like when I have like older school guys like looking at me and telling me like when I'm just like 17, like, "Oh, you suck, take your shirt off and like quit the business." If like I would stick it out if I didn't have BVD being there like, screw these guys, let's go out and like have this like crazy match. So yeah, definitely help.
Yeah. So again, you in Stampede for a few years, like for at least a couple more years there, and then so did PWA just kind of because you joined in 2007 or around that era, around that time, was that just kind of like from knowing guys that worked in Stampede that worked there? Just is that kind of like almost your bridge in, or how did that?
Pretty much, but honestly, the main like reason that it happened. So you guys probably both will remember him at the very least from like the Pro Wrestling YEG show. Is Michael Avery Grizz?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I remember him.
He,
Yes.
yeah,
Mhm.
he was like, and he still is. He's one of my best friends still, and I talk to him every day. He was so like supportive of us, and like he saw something probably in us. I think the only people maybe that saw what he saw in us that early truly was like TJ, Natty, and yeah, like TJ and Natty, if I'm being honest, like are probably the ones that really actually saw what Grizz also saw in us. I don't know if a lot of other people like truly thought we could be like the thing,
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
you know what I mean. So Grizz was always like pumping us hard, and he was an Edmonton guy. He came down to Stampede every week, but he was like an Edmonton guy, so he was always trying to get in Kurt's ear, always trying to be like, "You got to use these kids. I know they're kids, but you have to use them. They will blow people away. I promise you." And Kurt, like, he would like kind of downplay and be like, "They're kids. We can't. They're kids. We can't. They don't look like wrestlers because they're kids. We can't." And Grizz would just keep pumping at him, and then like finally, Grizz kind of broke him down a little bit, where he was like, "Okay, they can come to the ring with you, but that's it. They can't do anything else. They can come to the ring with you and they can carry your Grizztopia flag, but that's it." And then, like, fast forward, and like, I'll be completely honest about this, and I always am about these things, is like, TJ gets signed and goes to WWE. And one show, there was like that massive 10-man tag for Night of Champions.
Mhm.
And without us even knowing it, we found out afterwards, TJ messaged Kurt and he's all like, "Hey, thank you for everything you did for me before I went to WWE. I only ask one thing of you, like, because TJ did a lot for like PWA too and helped put it on the map a little bit. He was
Mhm.
like, I only ask one thing of you is like this dude, and like I'll always remember it, and like my loyalty, whatever is to you, blah 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 around here. Take care of my kids. Like take care of Chucky and BBD." And so Kurt, like, to his credit, he was like instantly he was all like, "Of course, I'll give them a shot." And he gave us a shot on that show. And like, this sounds like a little cocky, but me and BBD went in there with an agenda,
Mm.
and we got our like 3 spots that we had to in that we knew we were gonna do what we needed it to do. And like we have this 10-man tag, and like the 2 guys that stood out from it were me and BBD. And like the 3 spots we had, like the one spot gets a holy shit chant, the other spot gets a that was awesome chant, the other spot gets a holy shit chant. And it's the only ones of the match to get that. I'm not saying those are the be all end all of a wrestling match or like anything like that, but it's kind of hard to deny at that point, like, oh, okay, maybe we should just keep giving these kids a shot. And then, like, to Kurt's credit, as soon as that happened, like, he always took care of us, always took care of us. To this day, I still like, and I talk to Kurt and like bounce stuff off him, and like, yeah.
Good.
So yeah, PWA is where I first laid my eyes on one Chucky Blaze back in I was the anniversary show in 2008 in like March, because I was a big fan of wrestling, but I was kind of falling out of love with wrestling TV, and then I just found out that hey, there's
Okay.
independent wrestling in Edmonton. I'm gonna go watch. I think I had seen an RCW show in Morinville, just some random like bar show, and I was like, whatever. But then I was like, I'm gonna go check this out, and because I think it was because Johnny Devine was on the card, because I was still a fan of TNA,
Yeah.
so I was like, I came out, and that's when I fell in love with independent wrestling. To this day, I will never not be a fan. So, you spend the next couple of years, you're Chucky Blaze. I know there's cruiserweight title, there's in the cruiserweight division a lot in those early days, but then we get into 2011, 2012. It's very much a very different. Chucky's not, because I know this from being in the crowds. There was the Chunky Blaze chants at times where they got on you for your size, and I never, because I was like, I like this kid. Why would I boo it? Why would I cheer against him? But
Oh, thank you.
and then you kind of transformed yourself in like to like what kind of helped you get into like the transformation at that time, and then the eventual you kind of which really kind of changed the character almost.
Honestly, I just got like very more so like as soon as I hit my like early 20s, I got very more so like obsessed with like, okay, like this is what I'm like doing. Like I just don't want to just be on shows. I want to be like really, really, really good. And I want to be like at least around like ideally the goal was, and like honestly, I'm not gonna like lie about it, it still is to like get to WWE or something of that nature. You know what I mean? But also there's all those little goals along the way. So like by that point I was like, hey, I want to do whatever I have to do to be like the guy here that people are like, oh, that guy like could be on TV. And like I just knew that like realistically I had to get in better shape. And like I've always talked to like TJ too, always. And like I saw everything he was doing in like WWE and on the road, and like I would talk to him about it and get his advice. And then at that time, Lance Storm was booking for PWA. And I don't even think you mind me telling this, and like whatever, but it's just true. Like Lance did not like me.
Okay.
When he first started, he did not like me because like I was a kid and I was out of shape and I did like these crazy moves, and like he didn't really know me, and that there was like this method to my madness a lot of times. But like I'll say that was like a big accomplishment for me, is like by the end, Lance was one of my like biggest supporters by the time he left PWA. He was like going on Twitter and being like, I just saw one of the best indie matches I've ever seen between Chucky Blaze and T-Bone Jack Sloan and stuff like that. So like I call that a win. But so like I had Lance kind of telling me like, no, like you have to do this to like actually be used this way on these shows. And then like TJ explaining like, yeah, this is what it's like here and blah, 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 blah. And then just like literally my obsession with it. So around the time frame you're talking about, what really changed it for me is I started lifting weights way harder. And I didn't drive at the time. So I would ride my bike literally everywhere. And so I'd bike ride, like I decided like I'm not going to do the bus anymore. Screw it. And I would just like ride a bike like 4 hours every day. And if I felt like I didn't get enough like hard cardio in, I'd do like that 4 hour bike ride, and then I'd still go for like a run after work. Just because like, yeah, I was obsessed at the time. I went like in that period you're talking about, there was a point there where I went from like, I think my heaviest at that time, I got to like 240, and I dropped down within like, and I'm not saying this is healthy either, I dropped down within like a year to like 155 pounds for a hot second there.
That could shock a body, very much so. It could.
Yeah, absolutely.
Luckily I was like younger, so
yeah.
Your body could take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get deeper into your PWA career, and we get the big transition from Chucky to, as we know today, Michael Richard Blais. So we talked about the physical transformation, the transition in gimmick. What was the real thought behind all of that?
Honestly, a lot of it was just like literally what Andre was saying. Is like he sat in the crowd and he heard that they started to turn on me a little bit. Mm-hmm. And like for some reason though, like sometimes wrestling is like a little behind, and like and no matter who I would say it to, I'd be like, dude, they hate me. Let me just go out there and tell them how like that makes me feel. And everybody would be like, nah, everybody loves you. You're too baby faced. You literally have too much of a baby face. I didn't have a beard at the time. I couldn't grow it. So like they would literally like keep saying that. I was like, man. And then finally, like Lance was like watching one show and realized like, oh, they're cheering T-Bone over him when T-Bone's supposed to be the bad guy and he's supposed to be the good guy in this little partners that hate each other thing. And he was all like, let's see what happens. And like we basically did like a double turn where T-Bone was supposed to be the bad guy, I was supposed to be the good guy, but then I wound up and kicked him in the dick. And then like
I remember that clearly.
I bet you were
and then like
that show.
And then I just came out the next show and they were like, okay, prove it to us, show us. And it took about another year before I actually switched my name. But I got into the ring and I just like, I went off about how at the time I felt and like I had a chip on my shoulder because I was like this young kid. And I like the one thing that really stuck right off the bat, and it got me like, I remember on the show, it got like a good reaction of like, oh, that's cool. But also everybody booed me as soon as I said it. Was like God's gift to wrestling just literally like came out of my mouth. I didn't think about it beforehand. I didn't like none of that. It just like came out of my mouth because, and I'll tell you why. I had like just been watching a lot of Tyler Black and Ring of Honor. Tyler Black's finish is God's last gift. And I'd just been watching a lot of them the night before and it just popped into my head. Like, oh, I'm a gift from God. Cool.
Wow.
Yeah, so like that's pretty much how like that went. And then if you want to know like the name change, it was literally just like I went about a year just being God's gift to wrestling Chucky Blais still. And then I was sitting there one day and I was just like thinking, like, Chucky literally sounds like a kid came up with it. Like Chucky and BLAZE sounds like a kid came up with it. And I was like, I am not a kid. Like, that's not gonna like, I can't like, nobody's gonna take me seriously as Chucky BLAZE and I'm not a stoner or something. So I was like sitting there one day and I was like, I gotta do something about this and like make it like a real name, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like the more I sat there and the more I said my full real name over and over, I was like, oh, when I say this like Michael Richard Blais like that, it sounds so pretentious. And I sound like such an asshole that like people won't like it. And then the more I thought about it too, I was like, oh, but I also have like decent initials that roll off the tongue. MRB. So if I'm a good guy, don't chant MRB. It's like literally the perfect name. But
yeah. No, I can attest to both those things. Having three names, being pretentious, and having really good initials helps.
yeah, man. And like it's just like it works. Some of us get lucky with the name pool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Some of us don't. But so like I was a fan of you for a lot, I'd been a fan of you since I started watching you, but then what really sold me is like it was the heel turn. Like that's what sold me on you, and that's where I think I was the only person in every crowd just cheering for you while everybody else is booing the hell out of you because I'm like, I'm not gonna do this. I love this turn. But like what the absolute what cemented everything was I think it was in Calgary. You were in a 3-way for the title and you lost, and then Azrael comes out and gives you the briefcase, and like you cash in to win the title. I'm like, that to me was like the perfect heel moment, taking somebody else's briefcase while also it was like that perfect heel moment I found. And I was like, well, it's like this guy's is perfection doing this. Like, and just seeing that was like where I felt like that's the true evolution of the character was when you won that title but taking it from like kind of taking that opportunity from Azrael. I was going to say your whole turn with getting the briefcase and winning the title, and taking it from Azrael, which turned into legitimately an amazing feud for the next year for you with him when he eventually turned on you and you guys did the cage match. I remember sitting at that cage match in Edmonton going, oh my God, as he's tossing you off the top of the cage, and and I'm the only one in the crowd like mad that he's hurting you, and it just I absolutely love that. So like I thought like that title win was your like solidification as the heel because it was that smarmiest way you could do it. And Azrael was your guy he was your heavy, he was your Diesel to your Sean or whatever whatever you want to kind of call it. And I know you guys were good friends because I had many conversations with Azrael over the years. And you guys, I know you guys became pretty good friends during that time. How did that kind of feud working with Azrael? How did that feel? Like kind of having built, it was a very long built feud from working together into. How did that feel? Kind of building that all up.
I loved it. It was like one of them. I'd been lucky that like I got to do a few angles like that.
Mm-hmm.
when I like first started, like, but I didn't understand them at the time. Is the thing. By the time we got to that one though, I was like, oh, okay, I understand what's going on. So like now I know, now I can like, and like this is probably a little bit inside, but the people planning those things at the time switched in the middle of all of that. So, but the thing is like, Andre could correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think any fans would have noticed that anything happened. And part of the reason for that is because like me and Azriel, we both had this like complete understanding of what we were doing and what we were building. And when you really like, you probably hear this from like every other wrestler, especially like the big older guys that will explain how things are done now. When you really truly feel something and you have an understanding of what you're doing, it is very, very easy and very, very fun to make it good for yourselves and for the people watching and to keep it on track. Because like everything in that thing with Azriel, like I could like feel it for real. And like I was channeling a different like area. Like I explain sometimes to like people that I train or people ask me for advice. Like sometimes as a heel, I just literally do the things that I don't like myself. Like I do not like to see people act this way. I do not like to see people say like it should be done this way. You should do this. I don't like to see people use other people in real life. So like the Azriel thing, it was pretty easy to be like, oh, I'll just do everything I hate when I see other people do this to people. I'll just do that. I'm using this guy. And like eventually he's gonna get comeuppance on me. And once he gets comeuppance on me, I just have to try to run away.
Yeah.
Or in actuality, what actually happened, I have to get my ass kicked and thrown off of the cage through a table that didn't break. It just flipped on top of my face.
Oh, so painful. So painful.
Absolutely.
Oh, I remember that spot. I was just like, oh no, like you wanted to succeed, but it almost worked in a way better because you're the smarmy heel and you end up bouncing off the table and it landing on top of you almost kind of gave it more in that I felt because you're like, he's the bad guy. He gets off worse that way almost.
Just tell me that I'm your favorite and then tell me how you were glad that a table flipped onto my face.
No, I'm not glad it happened, but I'm saying the spot for the story is more what I mean. I never want to see anybody get hurt. Trust me. I was at Taylor's last match. I don't ever want to see people getting hurt at a show. So, but again, trust me. I remember breaking your heart years later when I cheered for Cody Rhodes over you, and you gave me this look of death that I was like, I can never cheer against this man ever again. I
was shook.
Yeah,
it looked like you betrayed me, and it almost broke me.
Yeah,
I have a great memory, so I remember that. Just so you know.
Yeah, no, Michael
I remember the exact moment.
And since that day, every match, no matter what, I will never cheer against you, no matter who you're facing. I may enjoy the match, but I'm never going to cheer against you ever. Since that day. But yeah,
this is when I was going to get into. So we get to the end of the Azriel feud, and everything's great. Everyone loved that part, and then we get my favorite era of MRB. The era of wrestling some of the best wrestlers known to the business. You got your Christopher Daniels, your Samoa Joe, your Cody Rhodes trilogy. My main question with all this is to ape a Kenny Omega thing, being this best bout machine of PWA. Andre has the shirt hung up, arrive, match of the night, leave. How did it feel to like have that level of faith put in you to be wrestling with some of the luminaries of the business?
If I'm being like completely honest, at the time, I didn't have time to really like look at it that way and feel like, oh, like this is like really cool and like I'm doing something right, because I was just trying so hard to like be at that level and get to that point. So like each time was really cool and it was like validating and it was like, okay, what I'm doing is working. But the thing is after each one or like going into each one, at the time, my mindset was just like, I have to work harder because I have to get to the next one. I have to work harder because I have to do it at this place. I have to work harder because I have to get to this goal now because I just accomplished this one. And it was like, I didn't have a time to like really sit and be like, oh, I guess like everything I was doing like did work. And like I did get a lot of knowledge and I did get a lot of these crazy opportunities. And like I do have this pretty strong resume in hindsight of everything to like back up to like, oh, like I actually did do all this stuff. Like I almost like forgot it while the work was getting put in. And I didn't really like even truly realize it until I started like training people more consistently at the end of 2019 when I was like, I kind of have to like explain this now to some people. And then I was like, oh, I guess this is real. So like at the time, I didn't really like truly grasp it because how that like all came about, if I'm being completely honest, was like right around the end of that Azrael feud. I did like this best of 7 with BBE, and that was pretty crazy. And we did like this hour-long Iron Man match, and it was like probably the best match still I've ever had, truthfully, just because like the emotion behind it and the fact that we went that full hour and everything, and like we didn't let up in our pace or anything. But at the same time, I had started like flying myself all over the US and all over the place to like different seminars, different shows, different tryouts. Like I did seminars with William Regal. I did them with Harley Race. I did them with like Marufuji from Japan. I did them with Hiroki Goto.
Oh, I never knew about those two. I knew about Harley Race. I knew you'd done William Regal.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
So like Harley's camp every day had a different trainer. So like the one camp was like Marufuji, Ishimori, Ricky Steamboat, Dr. Tom. The next camp that I went to like a year later was Goto, Gato, and Ric Flair.
Holy shit.
So like
wow.
Yeah, and so like I was just going through, like I was doing all of this stuff and boom, 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 trying to hit all this stuff. But the thing is I'd also come back here then, and like I don't know. I'm sure there's some people that would like correct me and say I'm wrong. I don't know, but I feel like I never really got too big for here. I never really started to feel like, oh, just because I did this, like, doesn't mean being here and like doing this isn't great. I still wanted to be like 110%. When I'm here, everything I do, everything I got from those places goes into here. And like I'm setting up the rings. I'm helping wherever I can on a show. I'm still showing up and I'm working my ass off. If you give me 8 minutes, I promise you it's going to be the hardest 8 minutes you ever see. If you give me 25 minutes, I'm going to wrestle like it's 8 minutes for 25 minutes. Like that was what my mindset was. So I think it eventually just got to the point where it was like people were noticing that and they were like, oh, we can't really not put him in these matches. Because like he has the resume to back it up and he's working hard and he's still helping with everything else too. Like literally just like, why wouldn't we give him these opportunities? And then like, yeah, in hindsight, it's like, I guess everything I did was working. Like all that work was actually like truly worth it. And so when I can look back on it and then I hear you guys talk about it and everything, I'm like, okay, like that was some good shit, pal. Good stuff.
That was good shit.
Yeah, like again, like we saw you with Daniels, I saw you with Samoa Joe. Like last when we did this 10 years ago, it was in the lead up to the Samoa Joe match, and that was like one of Joe's last indie matches before he had signed. It's actually signed with WWE.
Second last indie match ever.
There you
I
go.
always bring that up, and like I'm glad you kind of mentioned it first, literally just because it's like an example of some of the crazy things that has happened, like that PWA did. Because I'm always gonna be like a PWA, like pump them forever.
Yeah,
but like also that just like happens in Alberta in general, and sometimes people don't even realize. Like the fact that most people don't know Samoa Joe's second last independent wrestling match was against Michael Richard Blais in Edmonton, Alberta, is pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's like it's true. So
it's one of those notes that like nobody would ever think. You'd think it was on some like big indie in the States, but no, it was in Edmonton for, to me, the biggest indie in Alberta.
It was.
I think it always was to me, and always will be the biggest indie in Alberta. You know what I mean? It was a legendary company for me.
I agree.
I remember there's one specific one, like famous guy you wrestled, and that was Rene Dupree in Stettler, Alberta. Because it was the first time I ever ring announced a show. And I got to announce two of the matches on that show. And I ring announced your match. And I just remember it was in this room with just this roof where I remember Renee had to like go to a knee to back body drop you so you wouldn't the roof out. Like he got up on the second rope and went to lift his fist up, and he was in the roof.
I remember. I'm lucky that I got to wrestle him again in Red Deer years later, because at least like I got like one true actual match with the guy, because like he's really talented and like really experienced, obviously. So like, that Stettler one was something though. That's a good story.
Yeah. I will never forget that. Because again, first time for me ever ring announcing, but like getting to see you and him do that weird ass match with that roof. It's just him doing that kneel down for the backdrop. I will always remember that edit. Just because it was just like, oh dang. So in this time, you had some WWE tryouts in this time, and then I know you got to be on WWE TV and NXT a couple times. I remember you and 4 other random people versus Braun Strowman. I was watching Raw Live that night, and all I see is you, and I'm like, what the? I start freaking out.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? It's Blaze on TV. What's going on? I'm like, is he leaving me forever? That's what went through my head. But like, just getting to do those opportunities. How did that feel, getting to kind of be there? I know it's like in the enhancement talent role, but like, how did that feel? Like there, the NXT match with, I think it was Lars Sullivan. I don't remember who you faced, and then you did a couple more in that time. How did that feel, just to kind of get those opportunities to kind of put yourself on the bigger stage?
So the thing that I always tell everybody now, and I used to say it back then too, but now like I definitely say it, is it felt, again, validating. At the time, it was like, again, like, okay, I just got to work harder to get to this next checkpoint. But even then I could be like, okay, this was validating, because like nobody, so there's probably in a lifetime, like in my lifetime, there's probably going to be, let's go with 50,000 people that try to become a professional wrestler. There's probably 1 million that want to be a professional wrestler in my lifetime. There's then like about probably like, let's go with, in my whole lifetime, God willing, I live till I'm like 80, 85 with my kids, my wife, but like there's probably like, let's say 10,000 people in that lifetime that will actually, no matter what level it was, end up on like WWE or AEW TV or something like that. And then there's even less that end up actually like there forever as like a Roman Reigns or something like that. You know what I mean? So like, if you really look at it that way, I ended up in like a pretty elite group that accomplished like a pretty big goal. And like nobody can ever take away from me that I was on WWE Raw. Nobody can ever take away like the pay stub that I got from WWE that says that I was on WWE Raw. And that's what I was being paid for that night. And that like I can pull up the video and be like, yo, I was on Raw, man. I wrestled on Raw, and like that you guys can remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So like honestly, like some people will say like, oh, like enhancement, blah, blah, blah. But like for me, it was like, it's a pretty big deal. And like, like I said, like nobody can ever take it away. And then like I got to wrestle some like cool people in that time too. Like Braun Strowman, for example, dude was getting pushed to the moon. And every video package after, I was in it. I had just the right facial when I punched him in the face. just the right facial. So every video package you see punch, he no-sells it, and me going, oh.
I love that package so much.
And then like the Lars Sullivan match, I was wrestling DIY.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There
So
was.
like
Okay.
I got to wrestle Johnny Gargano and Ciampa on their like come up to winning the tag titles in NXT. And like at one point in that match, like I actually like beat the shit out of Gargano in the corner. So like I got like my little like, hey, MRB channeling like TJ Wilson in there on Gargano. And like my real name used and everything. And then I wrestled Hideo Itami.
That's right.
Which is phenomenal.
And when I wrestled Hideo, I got to do like some actual like Michael Richard Blais stuff in there. And 5 minutes before we actually went out for that match, I like texted Big Bad Boris and was all like, yo, I'm wrestling Kenta, who was one of my favorite wrestlers in 2003 on WWE TV in front of 15,000 people in 5 minutes. Bye.
Yeah.
And like nobody can take that away from me. And like inside whatever, like the producer for that match was TJ.
Oh,
so like
yeah, I checked.
Yeah. So like it all meant like a lot, and like it's just something that like I can look back on and be like, oh, that's pretty like wild to have actually like pulled that stuff off. But yeah,
it's such a crazy story.
So yeah, again, great run in PBA and everything, but then end of 2019 comes around, right before the pandemic hits. I know you had started training people around this time, with kind of working with Tex Games through his, like he had like a ring and everything. But then you guys created this invite only show that I got 3 invites to for 3 different people. You invited me. Mike the ref invited me because he was on the production side, and then Thad also invited me. So I got 3 people all messaged me and say, "Hey, you want to come to this show?" And I was, and you were the first one. You were the first one to invite me to the show. So I knew I was in because of you. Where did the Clandestine Society show come from? And where it's come? I know it's got to come from the darkest, deepest points of your brain. I assume.
So I'll just give like the full on like story, real answer to everything. The reason I started training people is because like I just explained all this stuff. I started going all over the place, blah 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 blah. And at the time, I was the only guy from around here that had like an actual WWE tryout. So I knew what they were looking for. And like I also have TJ. Like I'll always say that. Like I ask him everything, and he like tells me and tries to help me as much as he possibly can. So like I have all this knowledge that like I'm not even trying to make it sound like I'm better than anybody. It's just I literally have this knowledge and have these opportunities that just nobody else had managed to crack just yet at the time. Now like guys are doing it all the time, and like I love it, and it's great to see. And I like to think that maybe like I was like, oh, maybe I was a little inspiration for some of them. I don't know. But like, so I had all this. So I was like, okay, why am I hoarding this? And like people ask me at PWA shows for advice. Why am I not just like showing them like this is exactly what we did at the tryout? This is exactly what Harley Race taught me. This is exactly what Ricky Steamboat taught me. This is exactly how like TJ showed me how to do this move. Like, why wouldn't I give this away? So I started to do that. Then around the same time, like that same year, I happened to go viral for that Spanish Fly with Marky, which I will point out, so many people do it now. And I love that my brother and T.Y. Jackson stole it and got the same notoriety off of it. But me and Marky were number 1. I swear we were the first ones to do that spot. But with that said, that legitimately got me booked in a bunch of places just off that video. And then I did the Crazy Canadian Destroyer, and that got me booked in England. So I was like, oh, okay, like right now, this social media stuff is working this way. So we need like something for everybody to kind of get that. So I was like, how can we like make this work and like not mess up like anybody's stories here or there or whatever? And I was like, oh, I know. We can just have a party with all of like the fans that have really, really supported us, all of our friends, all of us, and we can just hang out and have killer matches and make sure we get cool video and live stream it. But the thing is it was never supposed to be what it was. It was supposed to be like 50 people hanging out there and just like having a good time and whatever. But we posted like those videos and it started to like drum up interest. And then when we posted the announcement, all of a sudden we had like people hitting all of us up being like, how do we get invited to this? How do we make this happen? Like, how do we get to this? And then we were like, had people being like, oh, like do this and do this. And like, we have the opportunity to have Artie and Nicole come. And like a big part of it too was by having it be invite only, we weren't technically promoting anything. So at the time, when there was all like this weird, like things are exclusive stuff, it meant that like, well, why can't we all be on this show together if we want to be? Because like we're not promoting anything. It's not competing with anybody. And so like there's no issue here. So then like that worked into our favor too. And we just got to do like all this crazy stuff and try to get some cool video footage. And like the byproduct of that is like it honestly ended up being like a really cool party and a really cool atmosphere. And I think everybody just like from like you guys to like all the wrestlers there to anybody that was helping, like even just the people that were like helping out with merch for us, or even like ended up getting that Edmonton butcher dude like just DM me wanting to come do like the barbecue there for everybody. Okay. Like we got like all of this stuff and like just this cool atmosphere out of it. And like, I don't know, I think a lot of people and like me for sure will like remember that and like the whole lead up to it and like everything for like ever. So it was just like a cool thing. And then like the way some of that stuff came about is like, I just wanted to let people do whatever the hell they ever wanted to do. Like, Evan Adams had always wanted to do a death match, but nobody was willing to let him do a crazy death match at the time. So I was like, have at it, brother. Do whatever you want. Just do it after me so I don't have to land in glass.
That night is top 3 wrestling shows I've ever been to. Just everything. And it was exactly as you said. It was something that was completely different. It was kind of like had elements of ARGs, you know, that sort of like exclusivity of it and all the weird cryptic messages. It just, seeing all that instantly hooked me. Like I wasn't one of the people that got like the initial invites. I had to like basically beg Thad for an invite, but I'm glad I did because it is a mythic show. It is, again, like probably if not the most fun I've had at a wrestling show ever.
Like I still got my card. I
still have my card, but it's in my wallet upstairs. I have number 8. He has number 1. I have number 81.
Yeah. Probably also like the biggest thing about that show, and like I'll say this till like I'm blue in the face about any situation around here, is that show doesn't happen. It's not as cool as it was if not for like literally everybody that was involved in it. Because everybody like pulled together like this big, like literally just this big community, and we were like, we're gonna make this cool no matter what. Like no matter what, we're gonna make this cool. Like Zoe and Sydney, they were like setting up the lights the night before while I was like off in Saskatoon doing a show. Like everybody like pulled together and did like a crazy amount to like make it what it was. And like that's the thing with like wrestling and like anything really, but I really feel like wrestling is like it's such a tight-knit community, and when you get like a lot of good people in there, like you can literally make magic.
Yeah.
So you were working with PBA at the time for the Force Pro Wrestling thing kind of was reborn there at the end of 2019, early 2020, and then the pandemic hit, shut everything down. I remember there was a couple online clandestine shows that were, I enjoyed it because again, it gave me something to watch. And then late 2020, early 2020 or early 2021, you kind of made your kind of return. PBA never came back, but I remember you showing up at RCW, and I think that was the birth of it was clandestine society coming into reality, because it was the character it's kind of where you kind of the character I've seen you play kind of, or the character I seen you develop these last bunch of years kind of started. I felt there it was in creating the clandestine society there.
Yeah, I did like during the pandemic. I did like a few of these. Like you could go back on my Twitter and scroll really far if you really wanted to, but I did a few of these like really cryptic-y promos that were kind of like teasing the idea of this thing, that were very like they were very like do you remember Sean O'Hare when he did that devil's advocate thing? It was very much like that, very much that vibe. And it was like to sort of like tease into this, because like realistically, this is just real life. Like none of us thought the pandemic was gonna last that long.
No.
I thought the pandemic was gonna happen. Like we were gonna get shut down for a while. I was gonna go get pec surgery while we were shut down, so nobody would have even known that I was off then. I would put out these promos, and then I would just come back to like PWA 6 months later after like everything had died down, and I'd be like this new character that's like literally what I said. I do things that I don't like in real life. That's telling all of you that I know the way for you to be better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I'm literally a gift from God, and I finally realized that's what I actually am. And like, whatever. And then like, it's just like real life lasted a really long time. We did those like studio sort of tapings just to like literally let people get some like ring time and everything, and just like still be in the eye when none of us knew what was going on. And then like, yeah, once I had that like run in RCW, was kind of like, it was starting to blossom, but then it was WrestleCore in BC that really like set it all off. Because all of a sudden they brought us out, and they were all like, instantly, they were like, you, Taryn, Steven, you're leading it. Can we use your clandestine society gimmick? Like your name, your like trademark or whatever? And I was like, yeah, sure. I'm like down with it. Like, I don't know if I'm ever going to like do anything else with it. So like, why wouldn't I use this? And then it was like, boom, it just like blossomed from there, where it was like, oh, this is like actually a thing. And like, we're a family, and we do this, and we're like kind of a little crazy sometimes. And like, yeah, it just like literally evolved perfectly just from that.
So Spencer Love comes into the picture in late 2021, bringing Love Pro Wrestling, bringing that around, which kind of for me was he kind of created what we were missing. He kind of brought back the feeling of the Prairie Wrestling Alliance. Like it's not the same, obviously, but he kind of gave us that kind of spirit back. You know what I mean? Like, how did you guys how did you guys figure out the involvement to like, I know you're a big part of the company. You have been since its inception. What was like, how did this all come about to become part of it and everything?
Honestly, Spencer would have to tell his like side of the story, but like as far as I know and what he's told me before is like he was always pretty inspired by that clandestine show. And like he had Win Column Sports before, and he did a lot of like put out results for PWA and all the companies here, and was like really trying to pump that. And like we had a few conversations. I'd done his podcast and like just talked about things. And like I like to talk about like wrestling. I love it, obviously, as you can tell. So like I like would be like, I'll never give away like all the secrets per se until you come train.
Oh, I don't need to. We don't need to know all the secrets. But just
No. But what I'm saying is like, but even like I'll give like little like tidbits and like, oh, this, and this, and I think like he started to get a little like, oh, this guy like has something about him, like the way he thinks about this, and like he's willing, if like you want to, he's like willing to like help you with it.
Yeah.
And so like I think he started to have this idea for Love Pro Wrestling, as the pandemic grew and grew and grew, and we were waiting and waiting and waiting. And then things finally started to open. And then he just like, he literally asked me if I would be willing to be involved. And what I told him was like, yes, but, and especially at the time, because we still didn't know what was going on, I was like, but you have to know, like, my loyalty is with like PWA. Like, if anything like weird ever happens, like, I'm with PWA. But then like LPW like starts, and he was all like, cool, we have like this guy, which was me. We have like Zoe, we have Taryn, we have Rich King, we have Larry Woods, we have Sheik Shabazz. Like, we have all these like guys from different, what used to be different companies, that were like, okay, this is like cool. And he was like, now we like have this group. And I think like, at least what he's like said before, and like I've heard, is that like I was a very big part of that, and of him being like, okay, I can do this if I have him around. And so like literally at that point, it just became like, I love wrestling too much and I'm obsessed with it. So if you're gonna ask me like for advice and stuff, and you're actually willing to put in the effort, and like you want to, and if I can help you in any way, like I'm going to. It's just like the way it is. And like, if you can help me in any way too, I hope you would, type thing. Mm-hmm. So it was like, yeah, like if you got a question, here's the answer to the best of my abilities and from what like I've been through over the last 20 years myself, or from what I've learned from somebody else. If you need me to do something for you to make sure that like this cog fits right, so that like these 4 other people can get to do this awesome thing too, I'll do my best to do that for you. Like, that's just basically it. And like, again, it goes back to my whole community thing. I think Love Pro Wrestling is like, it's a clear, like, you can tell this is like a group of people that like, we're a community. And if you come in to it, as long as you are cool, you're welcome in. You're 100% welcome in. All you got to do is be cool, and you're welcome in. And like, community is there, and like, we're all going to just keep pulling each other up. And that's like just being the way it is. At least for me, that's how it's always been. And I feel like for all like the guys and girls in the locker room now, and like as part of the shows now, even like right to like you, Andre, doing like ring announcing on the CWS shows, like I think like everybody's on that same wavelength and vibe. And like that's like the big thing. And like that's essentially how it came about, was just like community. And like we all just want to help each other.
Yeah, I've gotten to ring announce at a couple different companies over the years, and not slandering any locker room, but I find that when I'm in the locker room for the clandestine shows, it's everybody talking to everybody. Everybody's friendly. There's no like, nobody's off in their own little cliques. Everybody's just one big happy family, which I've seen, and which is absolutely incredible to see a community of wrestlers kind of have that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, very cool. So LPW opens, and then we get into the training magnum opus, as it were, the opening of the Clandestine School. You know, you've learned all of these amazing things from all of these amazing people, all of these opportunities, the tryouts and whatnot. And what was, I guess this is a very softball question, but what was the vision when you started this Clandestine School?
It was literally just like, I want to have a place to keep training all of the people that I was like training around whenever I could, wherever I was, from 2019 all the way through the pandemic. So I was like, I want to be able to like keep teaching Zoe. I want to keep being able to teach Darren. I want to keep being able to teach Steven. Anybody else that comes, like Reed would drive up from Calgary just to train with us. Mars started driving up from Calgary just to train with us. Like, I want to keep like doing this for people. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, like other people want to actually come train with us. Cool. Like, I want to just keep doing this. And then it became a like, okay, well, I can like do this. And then I've got like, well, now like Zoe and Taryn and like Bayrat and like people like that are training regularly with me. Like, they know so much now, and they're doing their own things. So like they can show people some stuff, and sometimes they can help me too. So it's literally just like a community thing. And like at the time it was just I want to be able to keep training with and helping my, not my, but like the easiest way to say it is my people as much as I possibly can. And if it has to, like, this is how we got to do it, this is how we got to do it. And then it's just like blowing up and blowing up. And to, again, it's like, it's honestly just like the community vibe and like paying it forward, essentially. If I can even like help, like, if I can help anybody even get like the tiniest bit better that's like trying to figure something out that like maybe they just can't because they didn't have like the benefit of doing a WWE tryout or the benefit of training with TJ Wilson, like, cool, I can help them. And if they can come, like, if it's somebody that, let's say, is like way better than me when it comes to like a diet or something, they can give me some advice on that, cool. Or like if they can help, like, give some advice to like a Canadian Goose or somebody that's there training, cool. Or like Nasty Nate, like, he's giving some guys some good supplement advice. He's a little bit of a, on our shows, he's a little bit of a not nice color, but
kind of a nut, you know.
Like, he's given some like great supplement advice to guys before. So it's like literally just like a community of people. And like, yeah, it's even at the point now where like I would say that like a lot of those, like, the guys that you see coming around now, like, if they're listing trainers, like, yeah, I'm the head trainer of the school or whatever, but like at this point they have to list Zoe. They have to, like, a lot of them they have to list Taryn. Like, everybody like trains there and like works hard and like helps teach. So
yeah, very cool. So we talked a little bit about the teaming with the origins of the teaming with the Clandestine Society, TFA and Steven. This is where we get to now. This is the present. We're talking about years upon years of brotherly jealousy that has led to this big super card at Nate next week, or this week as this show is going out. The end of the week, you got this unsanctioned match against your brother, and you've gone into a decent amount of detail with the jealousy and I don't want to say hate, but I feel like it comes off as hate at times. I guess the big question is there anything else that your people, your audience, should know about everything going into this match, and any last words on this whole thing before we ride into it on Saturday?
So the thing is like, I think people need to realize and try to understand that I know it's hard. I don't know if you guys have like siblings or anything, but like, siblings fight. Things like this happen, but like, some of this like hit a little harder and some of this got a little more deep than I anticipated it being. And this isn't like, you use the word hatred, but this isn't a thing of hatred. It's a thing of literally like, I don't know what happened to him. I don't know how he became this. I've said and done, and especially in LPW, some crazy things, trying to get like this vision I have and like what I thought was helping people out there. But I never told anybody to stab their closest people in the back. I never told anybody to use people the way that he used me and the way that he used Taryn and the way that he acted like he did everything himself. I never told anybody to do that, and I never showed that. And to me, the Clandestine Society, it's always been, we're just a group. There is no leader. I was never the leader. I've never thought of myself as the leader. Even at training, I've never thought of myself as the leader. Whereas him, as soon as he like got that title and realized that like I was willing to step back a little bit for him, he firmly seemingly decided he was the leader. And that's just not how it works. And then each time he swung that chair, more and more in my mind, I was like, okay, he has to learn. He has to learn. He has to learn. And I love him, and I will never stop loving him. But at some point, he needs to get whatever this is beaten out of him so I can love my real brother again and not whatever this crazy cowboy that he's become is. So I don't really know how to explain what Saturday is going to be like, to be honest, because you guys have seen some of the things I've done in these kind of matches on these kind of shows at Nate, but also this like has a lot more behind it and a lot more like, this is my baby brother. This is the guy that like when we were 8 years old, like he was hitting me and I wasn't hitting him back and like really doing it. He's the guy that like, when I look at him in the eyes, I literally see myself. I look into him and I see my blood and I see my soul. But the thing is like, blood is thicker than water, but you need water to survive. And at some point, he took the water away from me. He tried to take that bottle away and not let me sip on it. And so I have to do what I have to do to get that bottle back. And I'll share it with him when it's over, but it's going to be back in my hands.
Wow. Yeah, no, that incredibly well put. That is a phenomenal line. Blood is thicker than water, but you need water to survive. I can't get out. That is, yeah, no, that is exactly how you describe this. Yeah, that was, I think we're going to wind it down with that. That was absolutely a great way to end it. Andre, please, you're usually the one that does this.
So before we go, do you want to give any shout outs? I know I've got this Clandestine Wrestling Society.com where people can go and learn more about you if you just want to plug that quickly.
Yeah, for sure. Like Clandestine Wrestling Society.com. That's where you can go if you have any questions about training or whatever. If you don't want to go all the way to the website, just send Clandestine Wrestling Society at gmail.com an email. And me or whoever is looking at the email at that time will get back to you with all the info that you need. If you want to talk to me directly or look up any of my stuff directly, it's just God's Gift MRB on every single social media. GODSGIFT MRB. When it comes to Clandestine, also social media, it's Clandestine SOC, just because you can't have really long handles. Yeah, and like honestly, keep watching LPW, keep paying attention to that. Try to keep paying attention to like, I'm just gonna like put it out there because this is the way I am. Like everybody from around here, like you guys, like without your guys' support, like you guys and literally everybody, unfortunately, like I don't want to end this on a downer, but like you guys probably know Sheila.
Yeah.
Sheila Cameron, like unfortunately, like she passed away recently and like rest in peace. But like she's a great example of like some of you guys have literally been with me since I was like a kid. For like my teens through my 20s to my 30s. You see me be a kid, an adult, a parent. Like it's pretty crazy to see that evolution, you know what I mean? And like that's for everybody. So like follow me on all that stuff, please. I would love you to. But also like follow everybody else here. Follow Zoe Zager. You have no idea the things she's doing and capable of doing. Follow Stephen Crow. You have no idea how much potential he actually has. Follow Mars the Specialist. You have no idea the things he's doing. T.Y. Jackson, Taryn from accounting, Rich King, literally everybody that you see, give them a follow and like watch them. And like I'm missing names, obviously. It's like impossible to name everybody, but I'm literally just saying, try to go on the LPW Twitter, Instagram, follow every single person on there. And just, yeah, that would be what I would ask of people if I was closing. Just keep supporting. Thank you.
Perfect. AWS, quickly, where can they find you, sir?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can find me on the Blue Sky at awscomedy.bluesky.social. You can find me on the Instagrams at awscomedyyeg. There will be a reel coming up on Instagram once I get the video downloaded of my most recent set at Yuck Yucks. It was an absolutely phenomenal set.
Great show.
It was all brand new stuff. It was really cool. There was a lot of cool people in the audience.
Featuring Sheik and B-Rat in the crowd.
Yeah,
that's
no,
awesome.
they
Nice.
Paraleer were in the crowd, and it was really cool.
Hell yeah.
If you want to watch me and my buddy Andreas and my best friend Malcolm shoot the shit and talk about Power Rangers and review the episodes, you can check out the Morphomania podcast at youtube.com/@humanoidfreak2515. And a very brief and quick shout out to the Grindstone Theater, my favorite place in Edmonton, besides wrestling, of course. New and emerging artists, subsidized theater space. My shout outs for shows, it's going to be a triple header on Thursday, June 18th, because there's no Clandestine show on Thursday this month. Thursday, June 18th is a threefold show. At 7 p.m., we have King of the Hill Round 4, a King of the Hill style improv show. Typically one, but there's a couple of ties. Yeah. Dang it, Bobby. Yeah, no, there's been one, but typically one, but there has been a couple of ties this year. Everyone vying for the title of King of the Hill. No propane accessories, unfortunately. And then after that, at 9 p.m., there is Weird Al karaoke, done every third Thursday or Thursday of the month. Some of the new and up and coming actors and creative minds just putting pen to paper with some awesome Weird Al-esque parody songs. And then after that, if you want to stay at the Grindstone Theater for even longer, a good buddy of mine, Malachi Wilkins, will be hosting a karaoke Thursday from 10 p.m. until the Grindstone closes at 2 a.m. Just some great karaoke. I've been multiple times, and I've belted out some of my favorite songs. It's a great time, and Malachi's a great host. But that's enough for me. Andre C., where can they find you, my friend?
I'm going to go as quick as possible. Blue Sky at That Canada Guy, Instagram and Threads, at That Canada Dude. Find me over on Our Local Establishment on YouTube and Twitch, where I do my Sunday show. Point of view, just talking the world of sports. It's the one time I don't talk about wrestling. It's the one time I don't talk wrestling. I talk every other sport. And then you can find me right here, Backbreaker Video, doing the Pop Spot, doing Pop Spot Presents. And then you can find all Mike's content right here in Backbreaker Video, and you can see him live over twitch.tv/MikeTheRef, and you can also see the replays of his gaming content at youtube.com/@Backbreaker_gaming, and you can contact us through the email at popspotpod@gmail.com if you want to get in touch with us.
Let me pop you.
Pop.
It had to happen. Thank you so much for joining us for the 5th episode of Pop Spot Presents. Thank you, Michael Richard Blais, for giving us your time and giving us all of the wonderful stories about your career. It's been a great time, and I can't get over how we can get such cool people on our show. But this has been Andre C. This has been our guest, Michael Richard Blais. I have been AWS. And until next time, stay poppin'. Bye-bye.